Hi everyone, welcome back to our lesson. This video will talk about the multiplicative property of zero, but specifically for matrices. So if we think back to elementary school, you'll probably remember learning about the property of zero for multiplication. This property told you that any number or variable multiplied by zero is always zero. So for example, if we had 3 multiplied by zero, the answer would be zero. If we had 100 multiplied by zero, the answer would still be zero. And that applies for variables too. If we had x multiplied by zero, that also equaled zero. If we had y multiplied by zero, that also equaled zero. So any value, any integer, any variable multiplied by zero gives you a value of zero. And we can apply this to matrices. So when we multiply a matrix by a scalar quantity of zero, all terms in the matrix become zero, essentially a zero matrix. So let's say, for example, we had the matrix, this is just an arbitrary 3 by 3 matrix, but say we had 3, 5, 7, 2, 6, 8, 1, 9, 5. So these are just random values I picked out. But if we multiply this matrix, let's call this matrix A. If we multiply matrix A by the scalar quantity 0, so this is a scalar quantity, that's just saying it's a value, it's not a matrix. If we multiply this, if we think back to scalar multiplication of a matrix, each entry within matrix A will be multiplied by 0. So this would essentially become, this would be, oops, this is really thin. Let's get a slightly thicker. Here you go. We could do, in our new matrix, we would have 3 times 0. We would have 5 times 0, 7 times 0, 2 times 0, 6 times 0, 8 times 0, 1 times 0, 9 times 0, 5 times 0. So as you can see, each entry within matrix A got multiplied by the scalar quantity of 0, which we know from scalar multiplication of matrices. And so what essentially happens is if we were to simplify this, okay, this is also very thin. If we were to simplify this into a new matrix, we know 3 times 0 equals 0, 5 times 0 equals 0, 7 times 0 equals 0, 2 times 0 equals 0. You get the idea. All of these entries become 0. And that means our new matrix is a 0 matrix. And a 0 matrix is just a matrix where all entries within that matrix are equal to 0. And so that is the multiplicative property of 0 for matrices, essentially telling you, I'll write it out here, that for a given matrix, for any given matrix, if multiplied by a scalar quantity, of 0, the product, which is just when you multiply two things together, the product will always be a 0 matrix. And this applies to matrices of any size. So the example I talked about earlier was a 3 by 3 matrix, but you can also do that for 2 by 2 matrices, 3 by 3 matrices, 2 by 3 matrices, it doesn't matter. But that is the multiplicative property of 0 for matrices.